It had been exactly 15 minutes since Serena Vance, the supposed culinary heiress I was meant to marry, sent the final, jarring text message, "We're done. Your soul is too beige, Raiden. I need fire." She was already on the culinary world's most exclusive app, Plated, making her new romance with Dax Blackwood, one of the sous chefs at our competitor's restaurant, official. Dax, a talented but profoundly ambitious apprentice I had personally mentored, had been poaching my family's heirloom spice blends for weeks. Serena claimed Dax had a passionate intensity, and that as soon as she helped him get a head chef position, which she insisted I should give him, she'd consider coming back to my boring table. Using Serena's phone, Dax sent me a message marking his territory. "Thanks for perfecting her palate all this time, Chef Miller. From now on, I'll be serving the main course. Please keep your distance from my future muse." I had to suppress a tired sigh. It was utterly predictable. It only took me 3 minutes to call my father, who instantly pulled the substantial financial support he gave to Dax's family-run patisserie business. After terminating the loan and calling the director of the prestigious Auguste Escoffier Culinary Fellowship, where Dax had a guaranteed spot, my father swiftly informed the Vance family that the ingredient supply chain partnership with the Miller Culinary Group was over. The marriage agreement was null. At the same time, a link to a private video from Dax's friend, a waiter named Rex, pinged my phone. It showed Serena and Dax in a clandestine meeting inside one of our walk-in wine cellars. In the clip, Serena was wrapped in Dax's arms, giggling as she pressed a taste of some unknown dish to his lips. Someone in the background, clearly loving the drama, whispered, "Serena, aren't you worried this will ruin Raiden's presentation tomorrow?" Serena, her face flushed with a mix of cheap red wine and self-satisfaction, didn't miss a beat. "Nah, he's easy. A total culinary drone. We grew up on the same estate. You think I don't know him? He's so predictable. Always focused on getting the perfect mise en place, which means Dax can't get the experimental flair he needs to shine. This is just a little lesson for him." A cold, bitter laugh escaped me. So that's what she'd always thought of my dedication. Besides, Serena went on, adjusting her silk scarf, "I'm bored. He's so proper with his food. He barely even lets me taste test his new creations, saying my palate is unrefined." The thought of being engaged to him after graduation, being tied down to his traditional menus forever, it makes my skin crawl. She shivered dramatically, and Dax pulled her in tighter. "I promise I'll keep your palate satisfied, babe." "Only you," Dax cooed, tracing the line of her jaw. Serena smiled, a sly, cat-like expression, and planted a kiss on his cheek. "That's why I like you. As for Raiden," she declared, her voice rising with disdain. "Whoever wants his leftovers can have him, because I'm done serving his pretentious dishes." I could barely suppress the nausea rising in my throat. Suddenly, a new, clear voice cut through the noise in the video. "In that case, I guess he's fair game." It was Anya Sterling, the heir of the rival Sterling food empire and an infamous food critic who was always neck and neck with me for the top spot on global culinary lists. Serena's expression soured instantly. Dax tightened his grip on her waist. With a strange, forced laugh, Serena said, "Go for it, but he's been obsessed with me for over a decade. He'd do anything for me, even change his signature dish. It's exhausting. The guy's a total purist, he probably saves his best ingredients only for me." Anya let out a soft, unreadable laugh. She picked up her designer knife bag, the subtle Sterling logo a quiet statement of its prestige. "I'm heading out. Serena, remember what you just said. Don't come crying when you regret trading a Michelin star for a food truck." I don't share my trophies. Serena's face was a mess of emotions, the rosy flush of passion completely gone. I told you, Anya, Raiden would grovel for me. All I have to do is send him a simple amuse-bouche, and he'll come running back. Dax frowned, and Serena quickly added, but hey, I'm happy to let you play with him for a while. He's just a prep cook's assistant. I've got plenty of those. Rex and the others roared with laughter. Serena's not wrong. Raiden is totally a prep cook's assistant. Remember all those times he'd show up at our parties with a cooler full of his specialty house-made stock for everyone, and how he always insisted on buying the rarest wine for everyone when we went out. It's always guys like that. So damn cheap with their actual feelings. The video ended there with just a fleeting glimpse of Anya turning to leave. As I stared at the screen, my phone buzzed again. It was another message from Rex. You must be pissed, chef. Take my advice and give up on Serena. A woman will only ever see a drone like you as cheap. Anya Sterling seems into you, though. You're both top-tier snobs. Kind of perfect for each other. I suspected this was actually Dax using his friend's phone. He did stuff like this all the time. He used to take Serena's phone and send me ambiguous texts about my lack of spice, to start fights between us. But none of that mattered anymore. I'm a man who takes good advice. A badly prepared dish is best tossed out. And I agreed. Anya and I were a perfect match in brains, in family background, and in our cutthroat pursuit of culinary perfection. With a clearly superior option on the menu, what was there to be upset about? The only time a chef is truly sad is when he hasn't invented a good dish. I showed the video to my father. He was so mad he was ready to storm over to the Vance house, but I stopped him. I pointed to Anya in the video. I like her, Dad, I said. My father was quiet for a moment, studying my neat, unassuming features behind my protective chef's goggles. She's a culinary legend in the making, Raiden. Her family is a good match, but you. I held up my hands in surrender, declaring, a chef who doesn't aim for the highest quality ingredients is not a good chef. Then again, he mused, a flicker of pride in his eyes. She's still young, hasn't tasted much of the world. This is your chance. He clapped me on the shoulder. For the sake of elevating the next generation's palate, you have to give it your all. The only thing I can do is improve our ingredient sourcing network. An image of my mother's less than stellar dessert skills flashed through my mind. Silence. I spent that night memorizing every piece of information I had paid a fortune to dig up on Anya Sterling. Her favorite flavors, her preferred cooking methods, her secret guilty pleasure street food. For a top student of the culinary arts like me, reading her dossier twice was enough to recite it backward and forward. The next morning, for the first time ever, I didn't wait for Serena to walk to the Miller Culinary Institute with her. On the security camera, I saw her standing outside my kitchen's service entrance, frowning. She spoke impatiently into the intercom. Raiden, you have 5 minutes. If you're not out here with my morning coffee, don't bother coming out at all. Unbelievable. I ignored her. Now that the marriage agreement was off, the kitchen staff had no reason to be polite to her. Chef Miller has already started his morning prep, my head steward informed her. Serena's face went dark. The artisanal pastry she was holding, clearly meant for Dax, was thrown to the ground. A glass bottle of rare, imported truffle oil shattered with a pop, spilling its contents all over the pristine stone path. Why did I know it wasn't for me? Because she had never once approved of my morning coffee blend. I was always the one who brought her a flat white. Our pastry chef was furious. I just swept this area. What the hell is wrong with you? How dare you talk to me like that? Do you want me to have Chef Miller fire you? The pastry chef rolled his eyes. Your engagement is off. The partnership between the Miller and Vance families has been terminated. You should probably leave. This is just Raiden throwing a little tantrum, she scoffed. I'll let him cool down, and he'll get over it. The engagement will never be off. With that, Serena stormed away, her face a mask of grim determination. Serena and I usually shared a table in the advanced molecular gastronomy class. When I got to the lab, Dax was sitting in my seat. My specialized centrifuge and liquid nitrogen containers had been dumped on the professor's counter. He smiled at me. Chef Miller, Serena and I want to sit together. We're in our honeymoon recipe phase, you know, he said condescendingly. Didn't your father, my sponsor, tell you to be more accommodating to me? Come on, little brother. Just let us have our space. You wouldn't want people calling you the third spoon, would you? Apparently, he didn't know yet that my father had cut him off entirely. My first instinct was to tear into him. But then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw Anya Sterling. The seat next to her, reserved for the school's top critic, had been empty for years. My inner drama nerd took over. It was showtime. I stood there, feigning shock and confusion. Anya walked in, picked up my equipment from the counter, and said, Raiden, come on. I followed her, my heart pounding as she placed my gear on the desk next to hers. It felt like a scene straight out of a food-centric manga. This was awesome. I really needed to watch less anime. It was starting to mess with my head. I forced myself to look shy and sad, my voice cracking as I said, thanks, Critic Sterling. I haven't had a good breakfast yet. If you really want to thank me, you can grab me a decent tasting menu when you go out, she yawned. I was up all night perfecting my latest critique. I'm exhausted. I'm going to try to catch a nap, huh? So, she wasn't the quiet, reserved type. She was the demanding type. She must have seen me bringing Serena's boring flat white every single day and wanted the same, no, better, treatment. I nodded eagerly. Of course, of course. I'll bring you the best this city has to offer. It wasn't until I got to the legendary Boulangerie Celeste across town that I realized I hadn't asked Anya what she wanted. I found her in the exclusive Haute Cuisine alumni group chat and sent a friend request. The note read, Hey, Critic Sterling, what's your preference for a pre-test palate cleanser? Then I sat down to eat a perfectly proofed sourdough roll while I waited. I was a genius. A perfect, non-awkward excuse to get her personal contact info. Anya accepted my request almost immediately and sent her order. I looked at it confused. It was a list of everything Serena hated. A rich, savory pan au chocolat, a strong, black single-origin coffee, and a rare, pungent aged cheddar. Every single item was something Serena had explicitly forbidden me from buying for her or even eating myself. Not that I ever listened. I always ate whatever I wanted. On my way back with Anya's breakfast, I ran into Rex, the same waiter from the video who had called me a prep cook's assistant. He was incredibly friendly, greeting me with a huge grin. Hey, Raiden, getting that for Serena. He whipped out his phone, snapped a picture, and sent it to their group chat. I knew exactly how they would mock me. Look, the drone is back in his place, but I didn't stop him. Right now, I needed catalysts like these idiots to ignite Anya's competitive streak and make her take the initiative with me. I just smiled back at the guy and walked away. When I got to the classroom, Serena was already there, laughing and talking with her friend Kayla from her seat. She looked like she was in a great mood, a completely different person from the one I'd seen on my security camera that morning. She saw me and held out her hand expectantly. You're back. Perfect. I'm famished. Anya, who had been napping with her head resting on her knife bag, sat up. Her seat was diagonally behind Serena's. I deliberately avoided Serena's gaze, keeping my head down as I walked past her. Just as she reached out to take the breakfast from my hands, I sped up, almost jogging the last few feet to Anya's desk and sat down. I placed the breakfast bag on her desk and pulled out a warm, perfectly tempered chocolate truffle. Eat up while it's hot. I actually love a savory sweet mix like this, too. Looks like we have the same taste, critic Sterling. Anya smiled. Serena was frozen, the smile on her own face stuck in place. The mocking smirks on her friends' faces also vanished. Raiden, wasn't that for Serena? One of them asked. I spoke softly but firmly enough for everyone to hear. She has an apprentice now. Why would I worry about her menu? Besides, our families called off the engagement. We are finished. Our institute was a private academy for the elite of the global culinary world. Everyone knew about the impending union between the Miller and Vance families. As my words hung in the air, I saw Anya's lips curve into a pleased smile. Serena's face, however, was terrifyingly dark. She glared at me. Raiden, you're going to regret this. I don't want a disloyal drone. Even if you come back begging for me to taste your new dessert, we are finished. You're the drone, the one stuck on a single, boring recipe, I shot back. Apparently, I was usually so reserved that my reputation for being polite and straight-laced was deeply ingrained. This was the first time anyone had heard me insult someone so directly. The truth was, when I was in a cooking competition, my mic was on fire with trash talk. I had a filthy mouth. All eyes were on me, and my face started to burn. This was, after all, a public place. I buried my head in my arms on the desk, and I heard Anya's soft laughter beside me. Look at you, Raiden. Finally learned to add some heat to your dish. She was close, and the complex scent of rare Szechuan peppercorns drifted over. My ears tingled, and my heart fluttered. I had to fight the urge to just pull her into a closed discussion about flavor profiles. Restraint. I needed restraint. Serena had called me too easily satisfied, and said I was too scared to even touch her hand. But maybe, just maybe, it was because I didn't like her hands. They always smelled faintly of cheap perfume, contaminating the air. I might be a pervert, but I was a flavor purist. Anya's hands, tipped with faint pink and smelling of stainless steel and saffron, were a different story. After our evening prep session ended, I was packing my gear and looked over at Anya, hesitating. She capped her sleek, silver pen, her slender, pale fingers perfectly steady. My mind started to wander to the complexity of a 7-course tasting menu I could build around her. This girl was a total siren. Is there something I can help you with, Raiden? Her voice was so clear and elegant. I used to have to pay for expensive voice lessons to hear something that nice. Now I was getting it for free. I forced myself back to reality. My driver, he has to pick up a rare shipment tonight, so he can't get me. It was such a lame excuse. What wealthy culinary family only has one driver and one delivery route? Her eyes held a knowing smile, but she didn't call me out. She just fell in a step beside me. All right, let's go. My driver needs to stop by the Miller Kitchens to drop off a critique anyway. It's on my way. It wasn't on her way at all. We both knew it, but I didn't say anything. The ride was quiet, both of us focused on our review packets for the upcoming Golden Whisk competition. Time flew by. When we pulled up to my estate's main gate, I was about to get out when Anya put down her papers and took off her silver-framed glasses. Raiden, where are you thinking of going for your culinary residency? Probably the one right here in town, at the Miller flagship, I said. There was only one prestigious path for the heir. Anya smiled. Me, too. Good luck tomorrow. I hope all this recent drama doesn't affect your performance in the Golden Whisk. I couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. Of course not. I'm always number one. I know, she said, her own confident smile matching mine. Because I am, too. She was so beautiful. I was humming as I walked toward my house, only to be startled by Serena waiting at my gate. She looked awful. Your driver wasn't coming, and you didn't think to call me. I called you, and you didn't answer. Why are you bothering outsiders? She spat the word outsiders with venom. As far as I'm concerned, you're the outsider now, I told her. Serena, do you just love having your cake and eating it, too? When you were with me, you were messing around with Dax. Now that you're with Dax, you're haunting my kitchen's doorstep. Were you a hungry octopus? You have that many arms to keep everyone in your grasp. Oh, and by the way, the reason my phone didn't ring is because I blocked you. Get it? I didn't understand. After everything I just said, how could she be looking happier? Raiden, I knew it. You're just jealous. Unblock me right now. I'll pick you up tomorrow morning for the competition, and I won't bring Dax. Okay. Her voice was so gentle it made my skin crawl. Are you frail? Are you an idiot? Can't you understand plain English? I'm allergic to dull palates, lady. No wonder your food is always at the bottom of the class. I can see you not getting advanced plating, but you can't even understand what people are saying. You're a lost cause. You should have your dad send you to a local cooking school. She wasn't even angry. She just kept smiling to herself. Go on, yell at me. They say you only hurt the ones you love. I know you're just blowing off steam. Didn't we agree? Once Dax's experimental phase is better, we'll get back together. I couldn't take it anymore. I spat right on the pristine, truffle oil-stained walkway near her feet. Her eyes widened in shock. I turned and ran back into my house. I had nightmares all night. Serena was just too disgusting. Her toxic presence felt like a spoiled ingredient contaminating my entire stock. The next morning, I woke up an hour early, not just to avoid her, but to dedicate extra time to my complex signature dish for the competition. I seriously suspected she was a secret agent sent by Dax to mess with my head before the Golden Whisk. When Serena finally arrived at the Institute's main prep kitchen, I was busy discussing problem-solving strategies for emulsification stability with Anya. We were focused, intensely reviewing technical diagrams, our heads close together. Serena shot me a look, her eyes burning with fury. I didn't even glance her way, pretending she was merely a minor annoyance in the background, like a dull knife or a chipped plate. Before the teams left for the main competition arena, our lead professor, Chef Durand, came in. After going over the strict hygiene and timing rules, he turned to Dax, who was nervously polishing his set of knives. Mr. Blackwood, you need to go to the finance office and settle the fees for your last 3 ingredient sourcing trips, Chef Durand said, his voice flat. Dax froze, stunned. He glanced at me, then asked the professor in a low voice. I thought the Miller Group was covering those expenses, as a mentorship initiative. Chef Durand adjusted his tall toque. Chef Miller Sr. called the institute. He has terminated your sponsorship and mentorship agreement. Effective immediately, you are responsible for all your competition-related and personal culinary expenses. The monthly stipend for your family's patisserie has also been frozen. The color drained from Dax's face, leaving him looking like an unbaked dough. As other students, all scions of major food empires, started to look at him, his face turned bright red. The professor spoke bluntly, his voice cutting through the suddenly silent kitchen. I am curious myself. What did you do? The Miller Group funds the scholarships and ingredient reserves for nearly every underprivileged, talented culinary student in this school, from apprenticeships all the way through specialized residencies. Mr. Blackwood, if because of your actions, Chef Miller Sr. decides to pull funding for the entire program, the backlash will destroy your reputation before you even start your career. The professor's face was cold as ice. You'd better watch yourself. Clearly, the professor knew exactly what was going on. That's why he said it in front of everyone, offering Dax no dignity or chance to save face. My father's scholarships came with stringent ethical and professional clauses, and Dax had violated the most important one: integrity and respect for the Miller family. Now, things were getting ugly. Dax turned on me, his voice seething. This was your plan, wasn't it, Miller? To mess with my head right before the golden whisk. You're afraid of my talent. Well, I won't give you the satisfaction. I'm going to ace this competition and outshine your predictable peasant food. Oh, good luck, I murmured, pretending to adjust a piece of Anya's equipment. He choked on his anger. I ignored the drama and focused on my strategy with Anya. After the morning, technical skills session, where I, predictably, scored first place in deboning and precision slicing, I went to the restroom to splash some cold water on my face and reset my palate. When I came out, Serena was standing there, her eyes filled with wounded disappointment. Raiden, I am so disappointed in you, she declared, as if she were my mother. Who asked you to have expectations? I retorted, trying to walk past her, but she grabbed my arm. Her grip was surprisingly strong. She pulled me into an empty storage room, smelling faintly of cleaning chemicals, and demanded, "Why did you tell your dad about us? Now he's cut off Dax's funding. It's not about the money, Raiden. Do you have any idea how humiliating this is for him? How could you be so vicious? You know how sensitive he is about his background. If money is a small thing, why don't you have the Vance family fund him, Serena? Or are you scared to ask your dad, knowing he wouldn't invest in a risk like Dax?" I countered, my voice dangerously low. You preach about passion, but you won't back your own muse financially. You're a hypocrite. A firm, deliberate knock came at the door. Anya pushed it open just enough to see inside. Raiden, Chef Durand is looking for you. The plating demonstration is starting, she said, her eyes boring into Serena. I stomped on Serena's foot, not hard enough to break anything, but enough to make her gasp in pain. I bolted out of the room and walked away with Anya. What does the professor want? I asked. I was lying, she admitted immediately, a faint, almost imperceptible smile playing on her lips. She paused for a second, then leaned closer, her voice a low, throaty purr. Even good critics lie, huh? She was clearly unhappy about something. I assumed she hadn't done well on the practical butchery part of the morning session, which was a point of pride for her. We walked in silence, the scent of her peppercorns mixed with a hint of freshly crushed mint. Just before we reached the demonstration hall, she spoke again, her tone suddenly serious. Raiden, she said, she's a bland distraction. You can't let your culinary focus be hijacked by her drama. Can you please stop giving her any attention? My whole body jolted. A strange tingling sensation spread through my hands, the hands that defined my career, and my throat went dry. Okay, I heard myself say, my voice trembling slightly. Her mood instantly brightened. Good. Let's go win. The afternoon the competition ended, Dax told me to wait for him. Since he and Serena got together, he'd been staying at her apartment near the institute most of the time. The excuse he gave my dad was that living off campus was better for his creative freedom. Today, for some reason, he wanted to ride in my family's armored van and come back to my house. Of course, I refused. I waited until he was jogging up to the van door before I told my driver to pull away. He stomped his foot in frustration, his eyes red with resentment. Serena arrived soon after, comforting him. I saw her mouth a curse word before she started making a call, probably to me, but it wouldn't go through. She got so angry, she threw her phone on the ground. Of course, it wouldn't go through. I had blocked both their numbers and all their social media accounts, cutting them out of my digital space entirely. Serena, furious, brought Dax to my house. My father had them stopped at the main gate by the security detail. Dad called Mr. Vance and told him to get his daughter under control. Let's be generous and call Mr. Blackwood my godson, my dad said into the phone, his voice laced with acid. In reality, he's just a student I sponsored. Our families were in the middle of arranging a marriage and your daughter ditches my son for him. Mr. Vance, do I have no dignity? Does the Miller family have no dignity? Now your daughter is causing a scene at my gate with that boy, whom I just financially evicted. Does she want the entire city's culinary media to come watch this circus? Serena's father apologized profusely. It was, after all, his daughter who was in the wrong. When Mr. Vance arrived, he looked like he was about to physically choke Serena. He glared at the cowering Dax and roared, "You shameless piece of trash. If you hadn't seduced my daughter with your cheap, undercooked charm, would any of this have happened? If you want to stay alive in this city's culinary world, you'll stay the hell away from her." Dax was trembling with fear. Serena stepped in front of him. "Dad, I'm the one who broke up with Raiden. Don't blame Dax. Raiden's just being petty, blowing things way out of proportion. He's always done whatever I say. I'll talk to him. He'll get over it. You don't need to get involved." Her dad, enraged, slapped her across the face. "Are you still dreaming? His father already called me to dissolve the marriage agreement and sever the supply chain. That video Raiden sent to my board members went viral in my internal corporate chat. Do you know how much money I had to spend to get it scrubbed from the net? A fortune. Now all our relatives and investors know. You've completely humiliated me. Now get in the car." Serena's face was pale. "What video?" she asked, bewildered. Her dad pulled out his phone and showed her. It was the video Dax's friend, Rex, had sent me, the one in the wine cellar. Serena was livid. Who the hell recorded that? And how did Raiden get it? The meeting that day had been at her family's villa, with only her closest friends present. There was no way I should have known about it. Dax started to panic. This was spiraling far beyond his control. He cautiously reached for her sleeve but missed her. Mr. Vance kicked him so hard he fell to the ground. Serena tried to help him up. "Do you want me to cut you off completely and throw you out on the street with nothing but your fire?" Her father bellowed. "Because I will. You won't even get a job as a dishwasher." Serena knew he meant it. Besides her father had a more stable, more business-minded illegitimate son who was already a highly successful food blogger. Serena had no choice but to follow her father, her face a mask of bitterness. Before she left, she yelled up at my window. "Raiden, don't be mad anymore. I'm not mad at you about the video. Just take good care of Dax and we'll call it even. Forget me." Even my dad had to laugh at the absurdity. The girl is completely delusional. "I never realized she was this much of a psycho," my dad muttered, speaking through the security intercom. "She's just a good actress, Dad," I commented dryly. "This is probably the real her." A sour aftertaste. Seeing no one was going to help him, Dax picked himself up off the ground. He tried to enter our house, but the butler blocked him. My dad spoke through the intercom and let him in. The moment Dax was inside, he ran to my father, his voice thick with fake tears. Chef Miller Sr., it's not what you think. Serena manipulated me. My dad sneered. It's not. He played the video on the large security screen in the foyer, pointing to the spot where Dax was passionately kissing Serena. Is this video fake, boy? All the blood drained from Dax's face. With the video right there, he had no defense. My dad tossed the intercom mic aside. Go upstairs, pack your things, and get out, he said, his voice cold as liquid nitrogen. We're done. Now, Dax was truly panicking. My dad had built his empire from nothing, never having the money to get a proper education when he was young. Which is why now that he was successful, he had a soft spot for smart, underprivileged culinary students. He sponsored all of them at my school. One of his main conditions was that the students were forbidden from dating while in high school or during their critical apprenticeship phase. He was extreme about it. He believed poor kids didn't have the luxury of dating. In his philosophy, this education was the one and only chance for a poor kid to change their destiny. How could they possibly waste it on romance? It was the one absolute condition of his sponsorship. Dax thought my dad's constant nagging about his grades and his love life meant that he cared more about him than me. He was wrong. As I got older, I realized my dad just thought Dax had no other path in life except studying and working. But I was different. I was his son. Even when we fought, I was his only son. He had my entire career planned out before I was even born. So, even if I didn't do well in school, it didn't matter. But for Dax, it was everything. Chef Miller Sr., please listen to me. I know what I did was wrong. Dax sobbed, kneeling and begging on the marble floor. Please give me one more chance. I love Serena, and she loves me. She said she'll get engaged to me next month. I'm your son, too, and Serena will still be your daughter-in-law. My dad, shaking with fury, was past reasoning. He yelled for the butler to pack Dax's things. He pointed a trembling finger at Dax's face. You're insane. Do you have any idea who the Vance family is? Do you know how much that ingredient supply chain is worth? Let me tell you something, Dax. You finished the Golden Whisk. Your skills are good enough to get into a very decent restaurant. If you get your residency and graduate, you can have a life you never dreamed of. You can truly change your own destiny. Serena is just a garnish. She has no power in that family. You think you can marry a rich girl and leap into the upper class. You're dreaming. Relying on anyone is not as good as relying on yourself. Even if Raiden and Serena's engagement is off, her future husband will be the son of some other culinary tycoon. It will never be the son of a struggling baker. The Vance family can't afford that kind of embarrassment. If you don't want to wake up dead in an alley one day, I suggest you break things off with Serena immediately. When you become so successful that the Vances can overlook your family background, then you can come back and say what you just said. Dax lowered his head, biting his lip. Then he let out a sudden, mocking laugh and stood up. In the end, you still favor your own son, he sneered, his mask of contrition shattered. All that talk about wanting what's best for me, it was all a lie. The moment you saw Serena choose my fire over your precious son's tradition, you panicked. You want to kick me out of the city so your son can get back together with her, right? Dream on. Serena would never fall for a pampered little prince like him. She told me she only loves me. Chef Miller Sr., if you don't want to sponsor me anymore, fine. I'll be the Vance's son-in-law soon enough. The money you gave me isn't even worth as much as a single bottle of wine Serena bought for me. I don't need your charity, and I'm not leaving the city. I'm applying to the residency program right here. I didn't see Serena again until after the Golden Whisk scores were released. I heard her family had her on lockdown, forced into a rigorous etiquette and business training program. Serena had found out who sent the video, Rex, but Dax's friend, terrified, claimed Dax had forced him to do it. Just more dogs biting each other over a scrap. Dax made a big show of being depressed and desperate, but this time, Serena didn't soften. Her mother came and took back the apartment near the institute, and Dax was kicked out. After the scores came out, it was time to plan for the graduation and award dinners. Anya and I were separated by only 2 points in the final overall ranking. I was higher. Anya's mother, the matriarch of the Sterling food empire, came to visit our house, bringing a small, exquisitely prepared tasting menu as a gift. Perhaps we could host the graduation and thank you dinner for the professors together, she suggested tactfully. The media would adore the story. My parents exchanged a look and smiled. That's a wonderful idea. We were thinking the same thing. The two of them have been tied for first place in every competition for years. It must be fate. Anya's mother nodded with a radiant smile. Yes, it is. They've grown up so fast. We should merge their celebrations. From that day on, our two families became much closer, often discussing mergers, collaborations, and, most importantly, wedding dates. Dax, to his credit, did very well in the Golden Whisk. He got into the same local residency program as me. I was a little annoyed at the thought of having to see him in the same city, but Anya reassured me. The city is huge, and we'll be in completely different culinary circles. You'll be working on haute cuisine, he'll be in experimental street food. The chances of running into him are tiny, unless he crashes your event. I felt a little better. She was right. Serena didn't get into any decent local residency programs. Her only option was to go abroad, into an obscure food science program in a minor European country. The day she was leaving, she came to find me at the institute's library. She looked worn out, her usual vibrant confidence muted. By then, everyone who needed to know about my family and the Sterlings knew what was happening. Her voice was tinged with resentment. You couldn't even wait a second, could you? Or were you colluding with her all along? Why should I have waited for you, Serena? Our families are equals. I never needed anything from you. You just never understood what respect means. You treated me like a guaranteed pantry item. She looked hurt. You never used to be like this, Raiden. You used to adore me. You'd do anything I said. No matter what I did, you were always on my side. What did you change? She was right. The way I treated her wasn't because I was so madly in love. It was because I desperately wanted her to treat me the same way. I believed that to receive, you must first give. So, I gave and gave, waiting for her to reciprocate. But she taught me a valuable lesson. It was a one-way street. She was a bad person. She just took and took, feeling entitled to it without ever giving anything back. I'm not an idiot, Serena. Of course, I was going to cut my losses and run when a 5-star opportunity presented itself. I have no comment on people who believe in selfless devotion, but that's not me. I want what's mine, and I found something better. It's over, Serena. Anya and I are officially engaged. We announced it this morning. She asked you out, and you said yes. Of course, I said yes. Why wouldn't I? Should I ignore a perfectly plated, Michelin star meal to keep digging through a bowl of spoiled leftovers? I'm not a fool, Serena. You were a side dish. Her eyes welled up with tears. I can change from now on. You'll see a different me. Raiden, I was a jerk before. Dax tricked me. He was always playing the victim to manipulate me. I wasn't like this before he came along. You know that. There you go again, blaming someone else. It's never your fault, is it? It's always a contaminated ingredient or a lying mentor. Wake up, Serena. The world doesn't revolve around your personal drama. After I got together with Anya, I was well and truly happy. So happy, in fact, that I started experimenting with richer, more complex recipes and eating them. My face was rounding out, becoming less pinched. Anya was right. The city was huge, and I almost never saw Dax unless he actively sought me out. After the whirlwind of the golden whisk and the immediate, public shift in my personal life, the next 4 years of my culinary residency and business training were, ironically, the most peaceful and productive of my life. The chaotic noise of Serena and Dax had been replaced by the rigorous, organized precision of Anya Sterling. We were the perfect pair, two intellectual assassins, both hyper-focused on ascending to the absolute pinnacle of our respective fields, cooking and criticism, and we supported each other with absolute, ruthless efficiency. Anya and I never wasted time on petty jealousy or emotional drama. Our relationship was based on shared goals, intellectual challenge, and mutual respect for elite achievement. When I struggled with a new fusion technique, she offered brilliant, insightful critiques. When she was faced with a professional rival trying to smear her reputation, I used my family's network to quietly expose his inferior ingredient sourcing. We were an unstoppable culinary force. I gained weight, not just on my face, but a healthy, solid frame from finally eating the kind of rich, satisfying food I excelled at making. My father, who had never fully approved of my slightly built, nerdy look, was thrilled. A chef should look like he enjoys his own food, Raiden. You look like a proper heir now. The university and the city were vast, and I almost never saw Dax unless he actively sought me out, which he had tried to do repeatedly in the first year. He'd try to sneak into the Miller Group's private events, hoping to beg my father for another chance, but Anya's subtle and vast network of security and contacts was always 2 steps ahead. Today was my father's 60th birthday gala, a black tie event at the newly acquired Miller Grand Ballroom, attended by every major player in the global food industry. Anya and I were heading home together from a final tasting session before the evening. As we were leaving the Institute's private parking garage, we ran into Dax. He had clearly been waiting. He held out a small, crudely wrapped gift box. His clothing was inexpensive, his face thinner, and he looked profoundly stressed. The fire Serena admired seemed to have burned him out. "Chef Miller," he started, his voice strained. "I earned this from my part-time catering job. I can't get into your neighborhood. Could you give this to your father for me? Please. I know I was wrong. I just want to focus on my studies now and repay his faith." I didn't take it. My driver had already stopped the car and was waiting patiently. "You just want my dad to start funding you again, Dax," I said, my voice cold and flat, cutting through the silence of the garage. "Don't even think about it. I will never give you a chance to get near my father again, or taint the Miller name with your drama." His face went pale, and he glared at me with pure, undiluted hatred. "If you hadn't posted that video online, my reputation wouldn't be ruined. I got into a top residency. Plenty of sponsors would have been willing to fund me. It's because of you and your father that I'm stuck here. You owe me." Anya let out a cold, sharp laugh that echoed in the concrete garage. She didn't even look at him, choosing instead to focus on adjusting her glove. "Weren't you the one who sent that video to Raiden using someone else's account to gloat? You reap what you sow, Mr. Blackwood. Who else is there to blame for contaminating your own future? You were always your own worst ingredient." Dax's mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. He knew Anya's criticism was final and absolute. The moment she confirmed his scheme, he was professionally dead. After that, Dax never appeared in front of me again. I knew Anya had done something, probably ensuring every major donor and potential employer in the city received an anonymous, detailed report on his ethical violations, but I was happy to pretend I didn't know. Her efficiency was breathtaking. College and the residency flew by. The Miller and Sterling families had long since finalized their merger and the wedding date. Our union was not just a marriage, it was a carefully calculated business decision, celebrated by the entire industry. On the day of the ceremony, as I stood in my custom-tailored white chef's tuxedo, a burner phone I kept for emergencies rang from an unknown number. Anya, dressed in a stunning gown that looked like liquid silver, gently took my main phone from the pocket where I was nervously checking my prep lists. "Honey," she said, her voice smooth and comforting, "there are so many scam calls these days, and we need to greet the guests soon. I'll hold your phone for you." "Okay," I said, utterly trusting her. I found out later it was Serena. When she heard I was marrying Anya, she had rushed back from her minor European program, only to be intercepted at the airport by a private security detail Anya had sent. Desperate, Serena borrowed someone's phone and frantically called and texted me. Anya rejected every call and deleted every message. Serena sent a long, rambling text message to my personal number, apologizing for her immaturity and begging for me back, saying she realized I was the only safe harbor she had ever known. Impersonating me, Anya replied with a single, brutal sentence from my phone. "You need to stop texting. My wife will get angry. I have to go console my wife now. Her palate is already sensitive." Anya returned my phone to me just as the grand doors opened for the ceremony. "All set, darling," she whispered, taking my arm. "No lingering distractions. Let's go and claim our legacy." The ceremony was spectacular. The reception was a 6-course tour de force designed by Anya and executed by my team. Every dish was a statement of power and perfection. During the cutting of the monumental wedding cake, a 10-tier architectural marvel, my father leaned over to me, beaming with pride. "You did well, son. You chose a partner who elevates the dish, not one who tries to burn the kitchen down. You finally learned to recognize a truly high-quality ingredient." I looked at Anya, her eyes shining with ambition and satisfaction, and squeezed her hand. "I did, Dad. I finally stopped wasting time on the cheap stuff." Weeks after the wedding, during our honeymoon, a business trip, to judge a prestigious food contest in Kyoto, Anya looked up from her laptop, a rare, genuine smile gracing her lips. "Serena Vance is getting married," she announced. "Oh," I said, not looking up from the article one was reading about a new truffle smuggling operation. "Who's the unlucky chef?" "Dax Blackwood," Anya said, almost amused. "They are having a small, budget-friendly wedding at the courthouse. It seems he never did recover financially or professionally after your father cut him off. He's working as a line cook at a fast casual restaurant, and she's teaching community college cooking classes." "A perfect match, then," I commented, finally looking at her. "He provides the fire, and she provides the bland stability he needs to stay mediocre." Anya nodded, then sighed dramatically. "But it gets better. Remember my sister, Clarissa? The food blogger. Of course. The one who's always neck and neck with the Vance's illegitimate son." "Exactly. It seems Dax's friend, Rex, the one who sent the original video, he was actually one of Clarissa's informants. He felt guilty for what Dax had done. So, he just sent Clarissa a huge, multi-gigabyte file. It's a complete dossier of every scheme, Every lie, and every piece of financial fraud Dax and Serena orchestrated during their residency, including tax evasion and illicit ingredient trade. I felt a surge of respect for Anya and her family's thoroughness. And what did Clarissa do with it? Anya leaned back, her silver dress shimmering. Well, Dax's last desperate move was applying for a small, obscure government loan to open a food truck. He needed it to impress Serena's father. Clarissa submitted the entire dossier, anonymously, of course, to the loan review board. She also sent a copy to Serena's father, Mr. Vance, the day before the wedding. I couldn't help but laugh, a deep, satisfied sound. Mr. Vance is going to lose his mind. He'll disown her completely. Already done, Anya confirmed, a smug look in her eyes. Clarissa tracked the fallout. Dax's loan was rejected, and Mr. Vance publicly severed all ties, ensuring not a penny of the Vance fortune touches either of them. They are completely alone. So, they got their passionate intensity, and their freedom, from the old world, I mused. But they lost everything else. Indeed, they got exactly the life they deserved, Raiden. A mediocre, cheap, and stressful existence. Meanwhile, Anya stood up and walked toward the window, looking out at the city skyline. My lawyers just finished the final acquisition paperwork. The Miller-Sterling Group is now officially the largest culinary conglomerate in the Western Hemisphere. She turned back to me, her eyes challenging. So, my husband, are you happy with the 5-star meal you chose? Or do you still think about the leftovers? I stood up and walked toward her, taking her hands, soft, cool, and smelling of high-grade saffron, in mine. The only thing I regret, my wife, I said, a genuine smile finally reaching my eyes, is that I didn't meet you sooner and clean up the mess earlier. Now, let's go. I think I finally have the inspiration for a new signature dish, something rare, brilliant, and utterly ruthless. And together, the reigning king and queen of the culinary world walked out, leaving the ghosts of their past to starve on their meager scraps.